Good to be here. Good to see some familiar faces. First of all, I just want to start by saying, anytime you're asked to return to a place that you helped build, you had a hand.
The Indiana Fever thought drafting Caitlin Clark would change everything. They were right, but not in the way anyone expected. Because now, one of the wildest rumors in recent WNBA history is exploding across the internet. Fans are convinced a major resignation just happened behind closed doors. A secret meeting. A leaked conversation. A franchise already spiraling under pressure. And somehow, Caitlin Clark's name is at the center of all of it. Social media went completely insane after reports started spreading that Stephanie White had supposedly stepped away from the Indiana Fever because of internal chaos surrounding Clark. The story spread so fast that thousands of fans accepted it as fact before anyone even stopped to ask one simple question. There was just one massive problem. Stephanie White isn't even coaching the Fever. Not now. Not recently. Not for years. And that changes everything. Because the second people realized that detail, the entire story transformed from a simple rumor into something far more dangerous. Now fans aren't just asking whether the story is fake. They're asking why it was pushed so aggressively in the first place. Why bring up Stephanie White now? Why attach her name to Caitlin Clark? Why create confusion around a franchise already drowning in pressure? And suddenly the focus shifted towards something much darker happening behind the scenes. Because while the Stephanie White rumor may have been false, the chaos surrounding Indiana absolutely is not. This team looks exhausted, overwhelmed, disconnected, and every single game feels like the pressure gets heavier. The Fever didn't just draft a rookie. They drafted the biggest spotlight women's basketball has ever seen. Every timeout is analyzed. Every facial expression becomes a headline. Every missed defensive rotation turns into a national debate. And standing directly in the middle of this storm is head coach Christy Sides. A coach who suddenly went from rebuilding a struggling franchise to managing one of the biggest sports phenomena on the planet overnight. That's not normal pressure. That's survival. And right now, the entire basketball world is watching to see whether this organization can hold itself together before everything finally explodes. Nobody talks enough about what this season has probably felt like for Christy Sides. Because honestly, this may be one of the hardest coaching situations in modern basketball. Before Caitlin Clark arrived, the Indiana Fever were rebuilding quietly. Expectations were low. Development mattered more than wins. The pressure was manageable. Then the draft happened. And overnight, everything changed. Suddenly every Fever game became national news. Ticket prices exploded. Media flooded the locker room. Celebrities started showing up courtside. And Christy Sides went from coaching basketball to managing a nonstop media hurricane. That's the part most people don't understand. Coaching Caitlin Clark isn't just about basketball anymore. It's politics, pressure, public relations, ego management, and impossible expectations. Because no matter what Sides does, somebody gets angry. If Caitlin struggles, fans blame coaching. If Clark dominates the ball, critics say the offense has no structure. If veterans get fewer touches, people claim the locker room is frustrated. If Clark gets criticized publicly, her supporters explode online. Every decision becomes a war, and the losses only made things worse. You can actually see the tension building during games. Players hesitating, bad spacing, fast possessions, silent benches after mistakes, moments where the chemistry just feels off. Not because the players hate each other, but because the pressure surrounding this team has become almost impossible to escape. And through all of it, Christy Sides keeps standing in front of cameras trying to hold the entire thing together. That's why the resignation rumors became believable to so many people. Because fans can feel the instability, even if the details were completely wrong. The fear underneath the rumor feels real. People are watching this franchise and wondering, how much more pressure can one team possibly take before something finally breaks? There's one conversation surrounding the Indiana Fever that people keep avoiding because it makes everyone uncomfortable. The locker room dynamic. Because this isn't just Caitlin Clark's team. It's also Aaliyah Boston's team. Kelsey Mitchell's team. Veterans who spent years carrying this franchise before the cameras arrived. And now suddenly, everything revolves around one rookie. That kind of shift changes people. Even professionals. Especially when the attention becomes this massive. Imagine dedicating your entire life to reaching the WNBA, only to wake up one day and realize every interview, every headline, every camera angle is focused on someone else. That creates pressure. Not necessarily hatred, not open rebellion, but pressure, emotional tension, adjustment. And on the court, you can sometimes see it happening. Possessions where players look unsure. Moments where the offense freezes. Games where everyone seems to be thinking instead of reacting. That's not always selfishness. Sometimes it's uncertainty. Players trying to figure out their place inside a completely new basketball reality. Because Caitlin Clark doesn't just change offenses. She changes ecosystems. Media ecosystems. Fan ecosystems. Financial ecosystems. Everything around a franchise suddenly becomes bigger, louder, and far more intense. And not every player adjusts at the same speed. That's why the FIBA situation feels so fragile right now. One bad loss creates headlines. One awkward post-game interview becomes viral content. One visible frustration during a timeout suddenly turns into proof of division. The team isn't just fighting opponents anymore. They are fighting narratives. And those narratives are becoming harder to control every single week. Caitlin Clark was supposed to be the player who elevated the WNBA into a completely new era. And in many ways, she already has. Ratings exploded. Arena attendance skyrocketed. National attention reached levels the league has never experienced before. But success also created resentment. Because suddenly the conversation around the WNBA became dominated by ONE name. And for some longtime players and fans, that created frustration. Not because Clark isn't talented, but because many veterans spent years building this league before the cameras truly arrived. Now Caitlin Clark enters the league and instantly becomes the headline, the marketing centerpiece, the face of the future. That emotional reaction was inevitable. And once the season started, the tension became visible. Hard fouls, aggressive defense, constant media debates, every physical play against Clark instantly becoming national news. Then the internet made everything even worse. Every clip became a war. Fans attacking players, players responding emotionally, commentators choosing sides. Suddenly basketball stopped feeling like basketball. It started feeling tribal. And right in the center of that chaos sits the Indiana Fever. A young team trying to develop while carrying the weight of an entire league's expectations. That's an impossible combination. Because now every Fever loss becomes evidence for somebody's agenda. Some people blame coaching. Some blame veterans. Some blame Clark supporters. Some blame the media. And the noise never stops. That's why this situation feels bigger than one franchise now. The Fever became the symbol of the WNBA's growing pains in real time. And whether people admit it or not, the league is being transformed right in front of us. The scariest part about the Indiana Fever situation? This may only be the beginning. Because pressure like this doesn't simply disappear. It builds. Quietly. Slowly. Until eventually something gives out. And right now the Fever feel like a franchise carrying the emotional weight of an entire sport. Think about everything happening at once. A generational rookie under nonstop scrutiny. A coach fighting to keep control. Veterans adjusting to a completely different hierarchy. Fans turning every game into a national debate. Media searching for controversy after every loss. And front office silence creating even more uncertainty. That combination is dangerous, especially in professional sports. Because once doubt enters a locker room, it spreads fast. And once public criticism reaches this level, every loss starts feeling heavier than the last one. That's why so many people believe major changes are eventually coming. Maybe it's coaching. Maybe roster changes. Maybe internal restructuring. Maybe something nobody sees coming yet. But very few people still believe the Fever can continue exactly like this forever. The expectations are too massive now. And the emotional pressure surrounding Caitlin Clark has become larger than basketball itself. That's what makes the story so fascinating. This isn't just about wins and losses anymore. It's about power, attention, fame, identity, and the growing pains of a league entering a completely different era. The Stephanie White rumor may have been false, but the instability surrounding Indiana feels very real. And if this situation keeps escalating, the next headline surrounding the Fever might not be a rumor at all. What's happening to the Indiana Fever right now isn't just a basketball story anymore. It's a media phenomenon. And that may actually be the biggest problem of all. Because Caitlin Clark didn't enter the WNBA like a normal rookie. She entered like a global celebrity. Everywhere the Fever travel now feels different. Sold-out arenas, national broadcasts, security surrounding team arrivals, fans screaming during warm-ups like it's a playoff game in June. The attention is massive, but attention comes with consequences, because the media doesn't just build stars. It also creates pressure powerful enough to crush teams from the inside out. And right now, the Fever are carrying that pressure every single day. Every Caitlin Clark highlight becomes viral within minutes. But every mistake goes viral too. Every turnover, every missed defensive assignment, every frustrated facial expression on the bench. Nothing stays private anymore. That changes how players behave. It changes how coaches react. It changes locker room dynamics completely. Veterans suddenly feel invisible. Role players feel scrutinized. And coaches start making decisions while knowing millions of people are waiting online to criticize them instantly. That's exhausting. And the media cycle never slows down. One emotional press conference becomes a national debate. One hard foul becomes a week-long controversy. One bad shooting night suddenly turns into questions about leadership, chemistry, or team culture. The Fever aren't just playing basketball anymore. They're living inside a nonstop reality show. And the terrifying part? This is probably only the beginning. Because Caitlin Clark's fame is still growing. Which means the pressure surrounding Indiana may become even bigger next season. That's why some people around the league are quietly wondering something nobody wants to say publicly. What happens if the Fever never fully stabilize under the spotlight? Because talent alone doesn't guarantee success. And history has shown that sometimes the brightest stars create the biggest explosions. There's a growing feeling around the WNBA that Caitlin Clark may have already outgrown the Indiana Fever organization itself. Not as a player, as a phenomenon. Because franchises are built to handle basketball pressure. Winning pressure, losing pressure, playoff pressure. But what's happening around Caitlin Clark feels completely different. This is celebrity-level intensity colliding with a rebuilding franchise that was never designed for this kind of spotlight. And you can feel the strain everywhere. The coaching staff looks overwhelmed. The players look emotionally exhausted. The front office feels strangely silent. Even simple games suddenly carry playoff-level attention. That's not normal for a young rebuilding team. And yet the Fever are expected to navigate it perfectly while the entire sports world watches every move. That's almost impossible. What makes this situation even more dangerous is that expectations around Caitlin Clark became unrealistic almost instantly. Fans expected immediate domination, immediate championships, immediate chemistry, immediate transformation. But professional basketball doesn't work like that. Especially in a league this physical and competitive. Clark is still adjusting. The team is still adjusting. The coaching staff is still adjusting. But the internet doesn't allow patience anymore. Every loss feels catastrophic. Every rough game creates panic. And every setback fuels another round of speculation about whether the organization is failing its superstar. That's why the emotions around this team feel so volatile. Because deep down, fans are terrified of wasting the most important player the league has seen in years. And when fear mixes with massive expectations, people start looking for someone to blame. The coach, the veterans, the front office, the media, anybody. That's how organizations begin to fracture under pressure. Not because of one single event, but because the emotional weight becomes impossible to carry forever. And right now, Indiana looks dangerously close to reaching that point. What if the Indiana Fever situation is bigger than basketball entirely? What if this is actually the beginning of a power shift that changes the entire WNBA forever? Because whether people love Caitlin Clark or resent the attention surrounding her, one thing is undeniable. She changed the league. Television ratings exploded. Ticket demand skyrocketed. Corporate sponsors suddenly rushed toward women's basketball with a level of urgency the league had never experienced before. And that kind of sudden growth creates tension. Because rapid change always creates winners and losers. Some players embrace the spotlight. Others feel pushed aside by it. Some fans celebrate the new attention. Others feel protective of the league that existed long before the cameras arrived. That emotional divide is now playing out publicly every single night. And the Indiana Fever became the center of it all. That's why every Fever game feels emotionally charged. People aren't just watching basketball anymore. They are watching the future of the sport being negotiated in real time. Will the WNBA fully embrace this new era built around massive celebrity attention? Or will the growing backlash create even deeper divisions inside the league? That's the real story underneath all the headlines. Not just Caitlin Clark. Not just Christy Sides. Not just locker room tension. This is about a league trying to evolve under unprecedented pressure. And evolution is messy, especially when millions of dollars, careers, reputations, and the future of women's basketball are suddenly tied to one explosive cultural moment. That's why the Fever story feels impossible to ignore. Because everyone senses that something historic is happening. The only question now is whether Indiana survives the storm long enough to become the dynasty people imagined. Or whether the pressure surrounding Caitlin Clark ultimately becomes too overwhelming for the franchise to contain.